This is First Corinthians 6 and verse 12. All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
I want to start by giving our praises, glory, and honor to the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Kakadash. I'm the brother in the pop, and next to me I got
the brother Nagad.
And we are the brothers from the Prophets in Babylon camp down here in Tampa Bay, Florida. And we also want to give double honors to elders and apostles of Great Millstone who treat you well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect and the ones listening in. And as you see the title, all right, I titled this lesson, Not Everything is Beneficial to You in the Spirit. You know, she's just in her phone, just walking, man, cluelessly. You know, you got to be circumspect, bro. But that's just how Jake is nowadays. They don't see nothing. But, Salakia, you know, not everything is beneficial to you in the spirit on this walk of truth. All right, in this walk of truth, you know, because I was just meditating on that in the spirit, is that a lot of things that, you know, you see other brothers do, other brothers may be able to, you know, it's not a sin or anything, but brothers do it, you know, because it's beneficial to them in the spirit. You know, it helps them out. You know, it can, you know, better them. All right. But when it comes to you, you know, it can really destroy you. All right. And it can also have a lot to do with how long and how much experience you have in this truth. You know, but also it can have something to do with just your spirit overall. You know. But Baba Kashai, if you get that back and then bring the NOT out with that as well.
I got a precept as well.
Go on, yeah. Give me 1 second. I'm about to kill. 1 second.
13 verse 5. Examine yourselves to see if you're in the faith. Slot.
Hey, check the live, see if you're still on.
Yeah.
All right. Salaki Akim, you know, the temperature went bad and stopped the live, but go ahead and bring that back out real quick.
This 2 Corinthians 13 verse 5. Examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves. Surely you know that Yahushua HaMashiach is among you.
Yep.
If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith.
So you always got to examine yourself, whether you're in this faith or not. All right? And you got to be able to know what's right for you and what's not right for you. What's right for the spirit and what's not right for the spirit. What's going to better you in the spirit, what's going to boost your faith, and what's going to decrease you. You know, so there's certain things that you got to be able to have temperance with. Certain things you got to have a balance with. Certain things you can't just do, you know, and you got to understand that the more experience you gain within the truth. All right. And that's how you also, you know, show your sincereness in this truth, your sincereness with your faith, because you start to care about things like that. All right. This is not beneficial to me in the spirit. This is not going to help me out in the spirit. This is not going to do anything to make me, you know, allow me to gain more wisdom or faith or anything. This is just vain, you know, and ultimately it probably will mess me up, you know, in my walk, you know. So knowing that, you got to be able to understand yourself in the spirit, bro. All right. And with that, you got to know what's beneficial to you in this walk or not. You can't just be following after every other brother, bro, because every other brother, they got a different walk. They got a different experience with certain things, you know, and you got to be able to be, you know, seasoned enough and experienced enough to do certain things that, you know, maybe older brother, you see older brother doing, all right, you may need, you know, certain time and experience in this truth before you can just hop onto that or do that, you know, or like I said, it may not be for you at all. It may, you know, it's just not for you in the spirit. It's not for you in this walk. All right, and you gotta, you know, understand that, pinpoint that, so it doesn't, what's the word for it? For lack of better words, you know, it doesn't harm you in this, in the faith, man. Harm you in the spirit, you know, because you have things out here that's ready to harm you through the spirit. You got demons that's ready to take onto you, take upon you. They just waiting for you to do that certain thing that you feel like you're ready for. You're not ready for it, and them demons gonna hop on you. Them demons gonna plague your mind. All right. You know, but go ahead and bring that
1 Corinthians 6 and 12.
Yeah.
God, this is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 12. all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any.
Yeah. So you can do certain things, man. All right. You know, you can, you can, you can't, nobody can stop you and tell you can't do it, bro. All right. You do it. But you gotta understand, and you gotta have that certain fear inside you to know, okay, I can't do this. All right.
It's not beneficial.
It's not beneficial. This is gonna harm me in the spirit. This is gonna harm me in my faith. So I just can't do it. You know, and that comes with fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shemi Yahushai, man. All right? Because you consider those things, man. Now, these niggas out in the world, they don't consider any of that, bro. They just go out and do. They just go out and say and do and, you know, feel however they want to feel with no fear. But because we have the fear of the Lord, Yahweh Shemi Yahushai on us, all right, we know, okay, this is not going to be beneficial to us in the spirit. All right? I know that if I do this, I may go off on a certain point. All right, and I don't want that to happen. You know, you want to try your best, all right, to not fall off into, you know, iniquity. That's possible. All right, and certain things that may not be sinful, all right, or be, you know, it be some things that's not a sin, but if you do it, it could lead you into a sin if you use it or do it the wrong way. All right, and that can harm you in the spirit, bro. And that's why we're saying, you know, you gotta have that spirit to know, all right, to understand, all right, who you are, you know, certain things that you can do, what you can take on in the spirit, man. All right, because once you understand that and know that, you're able to do, all right, you know, certain things and know, okay, the Lord got me. All right, I'm good. I'm not gonna, you know, bug out or, you know, go crazy about any of this, because ultimately the Lord, you know, I know I can handle this. All right, now if you could break it out in the NLT.
This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 12 in the NLT.
Too, man, with that too, man, you always want to have a balance. All right, that you know, you want to have a balance, man, because you see certain brothers do certain things, but that brother may have a certain type of balance with it where it doesn't overtake him. All right, you know, that brother may have a certain balance, and he already got that certain experience, all right, where it doesn't overcome him and lead him into iniquity, lead him into, you know, falling off or going off on the wrong path. All right, so you're gonna need balance, man. All right, Scripture says a false balance is abomination unto the Lord, man. So in everything, you gotta have a balance in it, man. All right, in everything you do, there's gotta be a balance. The Scripture says, be not over righteous over much, you know. Or if, you know, we can get that afterwards, but just go ahead and bring that out. We're gonna bring that too, you know.
This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 12. You say I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you.
Yep. So you know, you say we're allowed to do anything. Nobody can stop you and force your hand to not do what you want to do, bro. All right, but everything is not good for you. It's not good, beneficial for you in the spirit. It's not, you know, it's not gonna grow you. It's not gonna allow you to grow. Not everything's gonna allow you to grow and be better. All right. Ultimately, it can overtake you and destroy you. You know, so you gotta understand that and know that. All right, and that's where it comes, where you gotta have that spirit of discernment. All right, to discern certain things. Okay, all right, this way is not for me. I know that, all right, because I can feel it in my spirit. You got to be able to listen to the spirit and in tune with the spirit, where you know, okay, I can't do this, I can't do that, all right, because ultimately it's going to destroy you, and you know, in the spirit, all right, and that's not what we want. You know, ultimately we want to walk, you know, in the spirit to the best of our ability, where certain things, it won't get to us, all right, it won't destroy our faith. You know, go ahead.
It says, and even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything.
You know, so even though you're allowed to do these certain things, you must not become a slave to it. All right. For example, drinking alcohol. There's no, you know, you can drink. You know, how should moderation. You know, but you have, you know, certain Jake is not beneficial to you to drink, because you may, you know, overdo it. You may become believe he's back in there. You can bring that back, actually. I want to fix this camera a little bit. Give me 1 second.
This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 12.
Hold on.
You want me to do it on this one?
There we go. I'll be good.
This is 1 Corinthians 6 and verse 12 in the NLT.
Mm-hmm.
You say I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. And even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything.
Yep. So even though we're allowed to do, anything, all right, nobody stop you. All right, don't just become a slave to these certain things, man. And brothers will, correct you on certain things. Okay, brothers, you obviously, you probably have a bad time with it. Brothers can see it and they be like, okay, bro, this is not for you. All right, but Jake want to keep doing it. Jake want to keep. No, I could do it, bro. I could do it, bro. Next thing you know, you become a slave to it, bro. Like I said, the example I had earlier is alcohol, bro. The lick, man. Sometimes it's not good for you. It's not good for certain brothers to drink like that, bro. All right, because now I'm gonna give it to you. Certain drink, when you drink, it makes you feel better, especially in this captivity, in this hell, in this with our oppressors and being oppressed. All right, it feels better, bro. It makes you merry. It gives you a merry heart. But you got Jake that will drink their sorrows away, man. And next thing you know, they drinking too much. All right, that's why the Lord said, drink in moderation. Have a balance with it. Don't just, let it become a slave to the alcohol. Don't become a slave to the drink and just keep drinking and drinking and drinking. Next thing you know, you out there, doing some foolishness. All right, committing sin without even realizing it. All right? You getting, blackout drunk. Don't know what you did the last night, but the Lord know. And the Lord may be offended by it. All right? So there are certain things that you can't do, bro. All right? Because brothers know that you do too much of one thing, it can become anything. Do too much of anything, it can become bad unto you. All right? And that's what, get that over righteous much. All right? Because you do too much of anything, it can become bad unto you, man. It can become, harmful to the spirit. All right? Too much drinking. All right? It can become a bad habit. And that's not what we want, in this truth. All right?
I got it.
All right.
This is Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 16. Be not righteous over much.
You got that in the blue letter?
I can't grab it.
Yeah, so I want you to get an NOT as well. So grab it in the blue letter and bring it out. Right. Bring it out KJV first and then the NOT.
All right. This is Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 16. Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise.
Yep. So be not righteous over much, bro. All right. You got Jake. You got Jake that will, overdo it, bro, in the truth. And it's like, bro, you gotta chill out. You gotta certain things. We're not able to just do everything. We can't do every commandment. We can't do every law. We can't follow every single law and try to be this certain guy or, Scripture says, be not over righteous over much or overly wise. All right, because you're gonna bug yourself out doing that, bro. You're going to bug yourself out trying to do that. Trying to be over wise, trying to be over righteous. All right? And it can ultimately make you fall out of the truth. So that's why you have to have a balance. That's why a balance is much needed in this truth. All right? That's why the scriptures talks about having a balance. All right? Go ahead.
It says, why shouldest thou destroy thyself?
Why shouldst thou destroy yourself? All right? Trying to be over righteous, trying to, do too much. All right? You ultimately going to destroy yourself in the spirit, in this truth, in your walk. All right? trying so hard, you know, not to sin. Scripture says a just man falls 7 times, you know, but he getteth back up again. Certain things you go fall to, bro. Jake start, you know, condemning themselves and feeling all bad and, you know, looking at themselves all bad and getting depressed because you fell off on a certain sin and you try not to. And it's okay, bro. You know, you gonna feel pretty shitty, bro. But at the end of the day, you got to get back up, all right, and not let that destroy you in this walk, bro. All right? Go ahead.
Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It says, be not overmuch wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time?
Jake over here singing, you know, love songs and shit and looking at people in the traffic. Jake weird, bro. What the hell going on? You know? But, yeah, bro, don't be overly wicked, bro. Just look at me rolling his eyes and shit, man. Jake, hey, bro, these niggas got demons on them, bro. They literally got demons on them, bro. And ultimately, the Lord gonna judge a lot of these niggas, man. This nigga just sit there, looked at me, roll his eyes, because I'm not, you know, entertaining his iniquity, his sinfulness, you know. But, his wickedness. But, yeah, man, be not overly wicked, man. All right? Jake, oh, you know, they feel like they can do certain things now. All right, like I said, you know, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, you know, the alcohol, bro. You know, because that's a, you know, great example. You know, many brothers fall to. All right? Just because you can drink doesn't mean, all right, you can just drink, you know, become an alcoholic or become a slave to the alcohol. All right? Next thing you know, you going out, probably, you know, did certain wicked things that you know you're not supposed to do, that the Lord will judge you for, committing adultery or, you know, because these things can lead unto sin. All right? That's why the scripture says. That's why the scripture says not everything is good for you. All right? Because it may not be sinful, but it can definitely lead you into sin. All right? It can definitely lead you into going off, to bugging out, to being a two-third nigga again, being back in the world. You seen that. The scripture says, for wine and woman make of a man of understanding fall away. All right? You know? Ain't nothing wrong with having a woman, bro. But you become a slave to that woman, you may fall out of the truth, bro. All right. So if it's not you know beneficial to you, all right, if you know that you probably gonna give your everything over to this woman, don't try to seek out a woman, bro. Even the scripture says Apostle Paul, he said, you know, if you have not a woman, you know, don't seek out the one. All right. If you don't have a woman, don't seek out one. If you have one, all right, be satisfied with that one, you know, roughly paraphrasing. And even, you know, another scripture like the brother quoted, you know, if you do have a woman, be as if thou hast none, all right? Because it can become a distraction. It can lead you away. It can lead you astray, all right? It can destroy you in the faith. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what you want, bro. That is not what you want. You don't want to be led away astray. You don't want to be led away into sin, into transgression. All right, because ultimately the Lord will destroy you. All right, the Lord can break you in ways that you never thought you can be broken, man. All right, go ahead. Bring it back. It's
This is Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 17. Be not overmuch wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time?
Mm-hmm.
It is good that thou shouldest take hold of this. Yeah.
This is NOT?
No. KJV.
Salaki.
Bring it out in NOT.
Yeah, bring it out in the NOT.
Salaki. This is Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 16 in the NLT. So don't be too good or too wise. Why destroy yourself?
Yep. So don't be trying to be too good or too wise, because you're going to ultimately destroy yourself. Trying so hard, man. You're going to destroy yourself. You're going to make yourself fall away out of the belief. All right? Go ahead.
It says, on the other hand, don't be too wicked either.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a fool.
Have a balance, because too much of something can ultimately be, it can be bad for you in this walk and not beneficial. All right? Trying to be, overly compensate, in this truth. Trying to be overly righteous. All right? you're gonna ultimately destroy yourself. You're gonna ultimately, fall out. All right. Same thing with, don't try to be, just because the scripture says don't be overly righteous, don't mean you could just be overly wicked. All right. Don't mean you could just be the most wicked nigga in the world. Nah, bro. Ultimately, you want to have a balance, and you want to not offend lest. You don't want to offend the Lord. All right. You don't want to destroy yourself. You want to have temperance. That's being of the Spirit is having temperance. All right, and everything that we do. Is still more in there?
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish it off.
It says, why die before your time?
Mm-hmm. So why die before your time? Being overly wicked. Scripture says the wages of sin is death. All right. Some niggas, I don't want to. Don't be overrighteous. Don't be overrighteous. Don't be overrighteous. But you being the wickedest nigga in the world, bro. You being a wicked ass nigga, and you talking about don't be overrighteous, man. The Lord's gonna ultimately destroy you. The Lord's gonna ultimately kill you, bro. All right. Cause you think, oh man, you can't be overrighteous, bro. You out there,
That's not reason.
You out there commit. Salakia Akim. We in Florida, man, so it's pretty hot. I'm gonna try to turn this AC up a little bit more. If it's messing up the audio, I would shock. Let us know. But God, man, bring out that last part.
God. It says, pay attention to these instructions, for anyone who fears the Most High will avoid both extremes.
Yeah, so pay attention to these instructions, bro. You gotta pay attention to the scripture, the precepts, the commandments, to what the Lord is telling you. The Lord is not leading, there's a reason the Lord put these commandments and these certain things and have the prophets, write these words into this book. All right? So you won't be going off. All right? So you won't be doing too much. Or you won't be doing too less. So you can be in the spirit, and it teaches you how to be in the spirit, what to do. All right? Scripture says the wisdom, knowledge, is the stability of thy times, man. All right? So even in this time, wisdom and knowledge shall make you stable. Even before Jacob's trouble, wisdom and knowledge shall make you stable. All right? Give you understanding.
Galatians.
Galatians.
This is Galatians 5 and verse 25. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit.
Mm-hmm. So if we live in the Spirit, let us walk in the Spirit, man. So if you're of the Spirit, you're living in the Spirit, man. You know what's good for the Spirit. You know what's bad for the Spirit. So you're going to walk in that and know what not to do. All right? So you won't destroy yourself in the Spirit. All right? You constantly, you constantly in the Spirit. You constantly, kind of be of the Spirit and not of the flesh. All right? That's ultimately going to make you, better. That's going to, you're going to know how to be in the Spirit. You're going to know how to walk in this truth. You're going to know how to operate. All right? If you live with the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit, man. All right? So you gotta be of that Spirit. You gotta live with the Spirit. You walk in the Spirit. I get that last precept, and we're gonna close out on that.
This is Proverbs 11 verse 1. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, but a just weight is his delight.
Yep. So a false balance is an abomination to the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai. All right. But a just weight is the Lord's delight. So Lord, He encourages having a balance, man. All right. Stop, Jake just be trying to do too much, and it ultimately messes them up in the spirit, all right, and it has them going off, all right. Or Jake be just doing too less, and then they just fall out altogether because they're not doing nothing at all. All right, so you have to have a balance. You have to have your mind in the right place to know, all right, this is what's right for me, and this is what's not right for me. This is what I must do, and this is what I must not do. All right. This is what's going to allow me to grow, and this is what's going to allow me to decrease if I do it. So knowing that, you're going to do what's going to allow you to grow, all right? Before you try to give yourself over to anything else, all right, that's going to destroy you, all right? That's gonna be the last thing you're gonna try to do is give yourself over to anything else that will destroy you, man. All right? You know, you got any closing statements or topic things you want to say? No priest says anything? So hey man, Lord willing, that lesson was edifying to the hopeful elect and the ones listening again. We give all praises, glory, and honor to the Lord Yahweh. Once again, you know, hopefully you was edified. And want to give double honors to elders and apostles, great millstone who teach you well. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom, Maki.
Shalom.